showing up, just let us know.
All right, so let's just give a minute or so for attendees to join. So welcome everybody. We're still having some people join, but I will get started. So what we wanted to do today is speak about relationships, human relationships, but in a digital world. Clearly, the last year showed us more than everything else that it all comes down to relationships, but also what last year showed us the most that those human relationships are all transformed and transferred to the digital world. So what we did today is we assembled a group of amazing speakers, and we will go around the table, hear their experiences over the last year, hear about their plans, and see how they build those brand to human relationships in a digital world. So let's go to the next slide. And we'll just cover a quick housekeeping items. So this webinar will go for 1 hour, and we plan to have 15 minutes Q&A as part of it. If you can, please keep your audio and video off to minimize noise. You can write us questions anytime. You have a Q&A button there, but for the sake of keeping the fluent and consistency, we will just assemble and answer them at the very end. We also will share the recording as well as those questions that by any chance we don't get to answer. And lastly, since this is done for you and this is done together to give you valuable information, we would appreciate taking a couple of minutes and giving your feedback. So we will be sending a feedback form shortly. So that said, let's look into who our panelists are today. And as you can see, we have a very impressive group of people. So what we wanted to do today, instead of having a lot of slides, we will keep this discussion as a round table. And these are your experts. In the middle, you see Steve, who is heading the business development for Annex Cloud. And Annex Cloud is an experience platform where they provide hyper-personalized experiences. What that means, he will tell you more as we go through the question. We have two customers joining us, Anna and Carlos, and everybody knows the legendary brand TGI Fridays that have been providing authentic American food since 1965. And Anna and her team have gone through incredible transformation over the last year, and they will tell you all about it. Carlos is joining us from Mexico, and Nadro is a B2B company which is providing which is in the space of pharmaceuticals and hygiene products. So he will bring a different perspective to this conversation. And then last but not least, we have Leandro. So Leandro and myself are working for Pyxis. And originally, Pyxis used to be a system integrators. And over the course of last 10 years, we evolved into more of a CX company where we guide our customers through their CX journey. That said, let's get started. So this first section, what we would like to do is speak about the new norm. We threw out here a few logos that clearly are very, very familiar to all of you. Pedidos Ya is a food delivery platform in Uruguay. Mercados Libre is a very famous brand in South America. And needless to say, we all know the logo on the left. And in some way and form, this brand set a new norm for expectations for the customers around the world. And I would like to open up, let's go to the next slide with the first question to Leandro. So obviously the expectations and the norm are very different and they vary from region to region. And Leandro, what I would like you to tell us is, what is the Amazon-like or Mercado Libre-like experience for LATAM? And tell us a little bit about what's this bar is right now. Where is this bar moving? What are the expectations?
Thanks, Anna. Hello, everyone. Yes, as we have been seen at firsthand in Pyxis, the evolution of the digital commerce, especially Latin America, has been very high, right? This evolution has been accelerated by companies like you mentioned, like Mercado Libre, Pyxis, and so our own customers need to react quickly to these changes to stay relevant. So to this bar, right? As you mentioned, when we started working on the customer experience landscape around 2012, companies were mostly centered on having like a good out-of-the-box e-commerce experience, maybe 1 or 2 channels, a good integration with the backend, and basically a system that was able to execute a transaction. So that was the main objective of these companies on that time, right? Mainly to showcase products, but nowadays brands are more keen on telling a story, right? So they need to leverage some tools on the commerce and content landscape to be able to do that. So I can give you a brief example on the bar being raised on LATAM. For example, nowadays the delivery and fulfillment experience in Latin America has been a very important part of the CX landscape. I would guess like Amazon, Mercado Libre has raised the bars on the expectation of the online shoppers in the region, where you can have an experience where you can get what you want the next day or even the same day. The purchase you get very quickly. So that's something that you must compete with, but also you must compete with an exceptional customer support and also frictionless returns and refunds. Another thing, let's say, or topic, a big topic here is the personalization. It's also a feature that customers expect right now. It's something that you need to have. They need to feel recognized by the brand. They need to feel understood. And also the brands today need to be able to be there for the customer anytime or anywhere, right? This bar also has an impact on our company, right? And probably in your own company will have the impact, because you will need to build more capabilities to adapt to these changes, to adapt quickly. On Pyxis, for example, we have been growing steadily year after year, not only on numbers, but also on the capabilities of our team on the customer experience landscape. So to sum it up, I would say that you need to be very aware where the bar is and where it's going to. That's the difficult part. And you will likely cannot differentiate yourself from the Mercado Libres or the Amazons or the Pyxis in convenience, right? However, they are the bar that the customer expects. So that's the bar for your brand to be relevant on the landscape.
Thank you, Leandro. Very interesting. So yeah, clearly one thing is obvious is that the bar keeps moving further and further, and as a system integrator or as a CX company, you can never relax. So you should always be looking into what's going on, but you can also say that that's what makes the work interesting, because what you're working on today is not the same what it was yesterday, and it will not be the same what it will be tomorrow. So continuing this conversation and moving to Anna. Anna, what I would like to throw out there is 2 different phrases: old truths versus new truths, right? And we used to say that you are competing with your competitors, and that is not true anymore, because you really are competing with the last best experience that your customers had, which is slightly what Leandro touched on it. And it was very, very interesting for us to hear, how do you define that truth and that bar for TGI Fridays?
Wow. So I think that it is important to understand for your non-customers, what are they doing with you? What was their experience? And gather all the amount of data that you can get your hands into that are, first-party data for your company, and really try to understand your users. And then based on that, really try to address them in the channels that are most relevant to them, with the messages that are most relevant to them. I think that it's all about, these days, it's all about data driven, and it's all about talking to your users in a meaningful way. And that would be really understanding who are your users, where are they coming from, what channels are their preferred channels, and really what are they interested in your brand. It wouldn't make sense, for example, to tell about an in-store offer to users that are coming mainly online. So I think for us, at least at Fridays, is really about understanding what we can understand of our users, and try to provide engaging messaging that is targeted towards them, or at least to the group of them that have some things in common.
Thank you very much, Anna. So you said engaging messaging key, right? And that is very much linked with that personalization that Leandro was talking about. And obviously this is easier said than done, and huge amount of work is being poured into that. But of course, once done, that also shows its results. Excellent. So let's go to Carlos. Hi, Carlos. Welcome to this conversation. And Carlos will bring a completely different perspective. So let's talk a little bit about your reality, the new B2B reality. And we threw out there just a few things which are changing for the B2Bs out there, such as your sales reps cannot travel, which was a huge part of the business. A lot of roles are being consolidated, and that clearly affects the operations, affects the speed. And lastly, but still very important, your employees are B2C shoppers at home, and they expect to have that experience. So tell us a little bit about this new reality.
Yep, and the last year was a very changing year because our B2B model in terms of the e-commerce has an exponential growth. So we need to rethink what we need to do to have a better experience, as you said in the beginning of the presentation. And obviously we need to maintain our sales and our employees safe. So we need to improve the experience in the e-commerce platform. So we rethink and we redefine what we need to do and how we maintain this new channel for us in our industry. It's a very small part of the total amount. So we improve the platform, and obviously we maintain full communication with our employees because they have to now work together. It's not against with the new e-commerce platform. It's together. It's a new omni-channel way to work, and our customers are trying to understand that they have a better experience or even maintaining the experience. So they are not comparing us in terms with other competitors. They are comparing us with the Amazon or the other better or best in class platforms. So we need to think that always our B2B, it's more changing or more like a B2C. So we have to think in terms of the 2, maybe 3 years in the capacities of this platform. So in that terms, Pyxis help us to improve our current platform and to have the experience in terms that the best in class to support our customers.
Excellent, thanks, Carlos. Yeah, very true that bringing in employees and working with them, that's already critical for the success. But needless to say that you have insane amount of challenges and exactly competing with Amazon being a B2B. So clearly like very challenging but interesting journey.
That's right.
Excellent. Okay, so let's move to our next section, and we called it a third-party cookie apocalypse. And you all know for the reasons why we called it, because cookies are going away, third-party cookies, with all the requirements from GDPR and so on and so forth. And I will turn this to Steve. And Steve, so I would like to tie this to the big question that the enterprises are facing right now around the acquisition of the new customers. We know there are data out there that about 40% of enterprises are investing their efforts into going after new customers, yet the old 80-20 rule, where 80% of the revenue is coming from 20% of existing customers, is still true. So tell us a little bit about your and Annex Cloud's view on this.
So thanks, Anna. I think that the conversation is really all around data. With GDPR, obviously putting some constraints on how you can communicate with folks. We also see some new challenges now that, Google Chrome and Apple and some of the other search engines out there eliminating third-party cookies come end of 2022. Data is now the topic of discussion when it comes to new client acquisition. And the question is where is it coming from? How are we going to collect data on our targets? And pandemic has actually made it even more challenging because it's taking away a couple of different channels of how we collect data. We don't go to the trade shows anymore and engage with the clients and get names and email addresses from folks that we've had, interesting discussions with. So data acquisition is going to be a big key and trying to understand the technologies out there today that's going to enable us to find, good, clean, solid data. CDP is a technology that is starting to come up in all of the conversations where, it's going to pull data from different resources and channels and then try to aggregate it into, a golden record for clients that they can leverage going after new clients, for the brand. So that's kind of the theme is, data, where is it coming from, how clean it is. And then when it comes to customer retention, I think a lot of brands today, pandemic causing the challenge is, first of all, do we know who our customers are and how are we currently maintaining that information? And then the next question is who are our best customers? Because we know that your best customers kind of fall in the 80-20 rule, right? They're driving a big portion of the revenue. And what we're seeing in the enterprise today is a lot of companies and brands out there do not know who their best customers are. They don't have technologies in place that enable them to have identified them and then understanding how to market to them on an ongoing basis. Technologies like loyalty platforms today are being looked at completely different than they have been in the past. In the past, it might have been a nice to have. Today, it's a strategic component of the overall digital marketing strategy. So we're starting to see some more and more interest around loyalty. And then the last, I think, component around this this question and challenge is how do we communicate? So let's say we find data, it's clean data. Then the challenge is how do we communicate, to the individuals, based on the data we have. And let's face it, today we know email is not as effective as it had been in the past. So identifying the right channel that your client wants to engage with is also becoming a significant challenge. So those are just some of the insights that we're seeing out there, and looking for newer technologies that, help us or enable us in these areas.
Excellent, Steve. Thank you very much. Very interesting. And yes, absolutely. We know that brands turn to loyalty a lot more right now. And like you said, It's not a nice to have anymore, but it's a critical component. So clearly also a lot of interesting and challenging work ahead for you. Great. So Anna, back to you. And again, throwing it out there, old truths versus new truths. And this builds on probably on what Steve was just starting to talk about, knowing your customer versus knowing your customer segment, right? We used to say that as long as marketing begins with knowing your customer, and now this is so much further down where you actually begin with already knowing your customer segment and taking it further. So tell us a little bit, how do you gather first party data? What are your plans in that area?
So we try to aggregate all the transactional and behavioral data that we can. For transactional data, obviously your purchases with us. And then as far as behavioral data goes, that's when you can get really rich on the first party side. So if you have your systems correctly integrated, you're able to gather the behavioral data that will come from a known user from any of your marketing channels into your shopping funnel or into your website. And so what are they doing there? What are they clicking on? That will tell you what are they looking to do with you and your brand and how they are looking to interact with you. Then there is the part of integrating reviews, integrating survey data, integrating customer service data. So all the tickets that are associated to the users that call and present a customer relations complaint or inquiry, that can be aggregated into your data. So then you are able to understand not only what are your users doing, but what happened when your users are not engaging, right? Somebody that had a purchase and then had a negative experience and had a bad review, or a customer customer relations inquiry, that will give you a better idea of how to address those users and how to try to win them back when you need to bring them back for as far as increasing your frequency with your brand. So I think for our customer data, for our approach, I would say we just do a crawl, walk, run. We try to integrate as many sources as we can. We put it all into our CRM system, and then we add new channels, we add new marketing sources, we add new data that we can get, we add new data from partners. So one thing that we do really well and at Fridays is to aggregating all that data. So from all that data that we have from all over the organization is what do we really is beneficial for us to bring into our CRM system in order to create those segments and identify those behaviors and identify how to communicate best with your customers.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. And yes, clearly, since you are looking at the data from pretty much 360-degree perspective, then you really are able to then draw real conclusions and make changes and adjustments, because then you really get that holistic view. And obviously also that's not something very easy to do, and especially with the amounts of data coming in this year unexpectedly, that was so much more than it was expected. So the amount of work is huge.
Yeah, and it's something that you have to grow. You have to grow into your system. You have to integrate more. You have to add more data. It's not something that happens at one time. If you're expecting that to happen at one time, you're not going to make it. You just have to start slow and then continuously add.
Absolutely. Yeah, very true. And also Steve was mentioning this about data cleansing. A huge portion of the work is also happening there, right? Which is, you still don't get any results, but if you don't do the groundwork, then you're just not going to get anywhere.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So let's move on. And Leandro, so continuing the conversation about the data, and we just talked about that it's not easy, that how much work goes into that, and we do know that personalization doesn't happen overnight. However, we still know that it's not like it used to be before, where customers were just hoping that you have what they want. Now they just expect you to have what they want. And you are working a lot on the intersection of e-commerce and data, which is the field where you bring it all together. So tell us a little bit about your experience and how and where machine learning, for example, comes in and helps the data that comes out of e-commerce sites.
Yes, and I think what you mentioned can be summed up as the customers are always on the move, and it's up to the brands, to your company, to meet them whenever they are and whenever they are going next. That I think that's the main challenge, right? So the digital experience has evolved a lot, as I mentioned earlier, and I think past are the days where you offer the same content to the same customers, right? So you need tools, and you are using tools. Tools that are more accessible to gather this information and obviously make sense of all of it. And in our experience, there can be some times where data can be overwhelming. So I think this is where the tools, where machine learning and AI can really shine, let's say. Let be it from understanding sentiment on social networks to doing real-time personalization or even automatic campaigns on some marketing platform. With these tools, you can make that data work in your favor, right? So for example, we have seen quite a rise on the machine learning or AI front on the, for example, search services on the commerce platforms. Usually you just, or you were good with the standard search functionality from the platform that came out of the box. Right now, customers need to replace that with something more intelligent. So they're buying these products and integrating them into their platform to stay basically relevant against the competition. So it's important also, as you mentioned, to give the customer what they want when they want it. So I think a big factor that was already mentioned was hyper-personalization. And here is also a place where machine learning can give us an advantage. I think to give the customers a good content whenever they want it. And this is not only the usual, let's say, product recommendations, right? That you see a product and you see, okay, somebody else also bought these ones, but also can be used for retargeting, upselling, discounts, trend analysis, and even like getting some information to your inventory management. So you can be sure to have this stock whenever you need it. So I think the end goal is the same, to provide a better experience, obviously, for the customer. And right now we are in a time that I think is the barrier of entry of using these tools is very low. So we are encouraging our customers to experiment with these kind of tools.
Great, thanks a lot, Leandro. Yeah, and probably one of the takeaways from here is that definitely it's good to get out there and experiment. So it's not like it was 10 years ago where you would have to invest 8 months and a couple of $1 million into putting up a commerce site or things. You can really, brands can go out there, experiment, try, and then risk some things and then quickly adjust. So that's also the beauty of this new technologies which are coming into the market over the last few years. Okay, excellent. So then let's move to our next section where we wanted to talk about people, processes, and culture. And clearly they come together and they are intertwined and inseparable. And in the beginning of the conversation, Carlos spoke a little bit about that. So going to the next question, I would like to go back to Carlos and tell us a little bit about what did you change externally and internally. You talked already a little bit about that strengthened that bond between your people and the processes. And for a B2B company where processes are playing such a major role, this is clearly a critical component.
Yep. We in our market, Anna, sell the same product as competitors. So our differentiation must be in terms of the service. So we implement an innovation program to have a different alternatives in the relationship with our customers and with our employees. So we started this process, making the conscious in our co-workers, because the innovation must be culture, a force, an internal force in the company. So we invite to the people to bring in the ideas, to have new ways to work, new ways to sell, and obviously to retain and maintain and capture new customers. So in these terms, we are reviewing our process to see where we can simplify or where we make new policies to have the agility in terms of the internal processes and with our customers to have a better experience with them. So this innovation program started in this year. The last year we did all the planning and all the reviews, and obviously have some pilots to understand what we can do better. And for example, one of the results of this innovation was to implement the RAP, the robotic process automation in the company, this crowdsourcing platform, as I said, and some other projects, trying to identify with our customers that they want a better and agile company, and obviously better responses in terms of their necessities. So this is the response that we planned the last year.
Yeah, great, Carlos. Thanks. Very interesting. And obviously, you touched on simplicity and agility, and that clearly makes the life of your employees a lot better. They makes their jobs a lot easier, and it's interesting that came up, but also not surprising, and that you are putting efforts into making changes in that area.
Yeah, and we try to maintain the balance between the employees, because they are a lot important for the company, and with our customers, because they are important too. So it's not all the resources or not only the importance to the customers. We are trying to taking care with our employees.
Yeah, very true. And also, like, when we say people, processes, culture, it really touches both the employees and the customers, right? There's no more anymore separation of these are the employees and these are the customers. So only when you look at this picture holistically, then you really achieve great experiences.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Let's move forward. And Anna, back to you. Would like to hear a little bit from you about how do you keep those customers engaged? So you talk to us a lot about how you reach out to them through different channels and how you analyze the data, but also tell us, like, what do you do to actually retain and keep them engaged?
So I think one of the things that has been really working for us in the past year is the development of journeys, right? So we sit down and we understand each of the touch points that in which we are interacting with our customers, and really where can we take them from there. So how the journey of a purchaser should be, what touch points and what communications can we send them along the way. For non-purchasers, what should we be talking, when should we be talking to them, when should we be encouraging them to come back, and what message should we be giving them in what channel to come back. So I think that the development of journeys has been key in the past year, as far as mapping really what the paths are for each of those, for each customer, depending on what actions and interactions they have with the brand, and really planning on trying to bring them back accordingly when it's the right time for them to come back, or encouraging them with a very strong reason to come back when we haven't been able to interact, or we haven't seen them interact with us in a while. So I think that definitely has helped us as far as processes to engage with our customers. The enabling of segmentation and applying segmentation to our communications has been key. We have very limited resources when it comes to copy and images that we can use. So we can have 5-7 versions or different versions of every campaign. So segmentation has helped us really split our communications into pieces of communications that really target certain groups of people with certain affinities. Time of day, time of their purchase, location, and things that behavior, opening, not opening, purchasing, not purchasing, browsing certain pages in our website. So all that help us to really address some of the communication points and how to make those communications more engagement.
Very interesting. Thanks a lot, Anna. I think, one thing that comes through this lines that you're sharing is that you're listening. You're listening to what your customers are telling you, and based on that, you're making a lot of decisions on the choices. And that's the only and the right way to go and to bring the change.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's move forward. And this brings us to our last section, where we really want to talk about now this relationships in the digital world. And going to our next question, Leandro, back to you. So I know relationships matter, they used to say, and now relationships are everything, whether they're digital or human. But since we're talking now about the digital ones, let's focus on that. So how do you design the systems that are focusing on strengthening those relationships, that putting them at the forefront and at the center of all the activities? And what do you do to strengthen those relationships in a digital world while you are dealing with the humans?
Thanks, Anna. Yeah, I think that the companies need to realize that these kind of interactions with your brand are happening not only when they access your e-commerce site, but also when they are interacting offline with you in other channels, be it emails, social networks, whatever. And the number of these channels or touch points is always increasing, right? It's not decreasing. So from the technology point of view, we recommend our customers to rely on a headless approach on their commerce platforms. The headless approach basically separates what is the backend, mostly the business logic of your business, from the presentation or the experience of your platform. So this allows you to leverage experiences tailored to a specific channel, be it traditional e-shop, social commerce, social networks, IoT devices, whatever you want. But you will have the ability to do that through technology. And this kind of approach can give you, for example, abilities or be able to tailor experiences for specific groups. Like not right now in pandemic, there are a lot of people that are not tech savvy, that they need to feel that they are on the brick and mortar stores. So maybe they need more interaction than others. So these kind of technologies allow you to do that, right? To tailor that experience for them. And also tools like Marketing Cloud or MRCs are key for this communication and interaction. Another topic is trust and culture in building this relationship. Having a good set of tools to, for example, analyze the sentiment on your brand and resolve issues, if there are, very quickly is very important. You must be there for your customers and on each of these interactions, and you can present your values and what you believe in and where you are going to. And then another thing also related to trust, I would say that Steve mentioned, is also data, right? Customer data plays a very important role here. We are getting more and more personal data every day, so it's very important that the customer trusts us and we comply with those regulations, so we ensure the data is secure. And that obviously the customer gave consent to use it. For this, we can leverage loyalty programs like Annex Cloud to gather that first-party data and then drive the personalized experiences for our customers. And I would say that finally, you need to not forget the relationships within the company, like Carlos mentioned. They are very important too, and at Pyxis we value them a lot. So we think that in times like this is when you need to invest probably more than you were investing on this relationship inside your company, and make sure you have all the tools and keep the level of collaboration and communication between them. So as a sum up, I would say like leverage technology to improve your relationships with your customers. Make sure your customers trust you with your data, but don't forget about the relationships within your company.
Great, thanks a lot, Leandro. Yeah, it just shows that you can never do it alone, and you should not do it alone, and how everything is intertwined and interconnected between the tools, the technology, the people, the customers. So that this is the only way it works. Okay, great. So Carlos, last question to you. We'd like you to tell us about something that was the most innovative. Well, you told us a lot of innovative things that were done at NADRO over the last year, and the great initiatives. But what was probably the most innovative and the one that pushed you the most out of your comfort zone and really changed your digital reality?
Yep. I think the first one was to create our roadmap, our own roadmap in terms of projects, obviously in this digital transformation. The innovation in NADRO was more focused in terms of planning, and now in the 2021, it's the execution, focusing in our self-improvement, discovering more RPA opportunities. And in terms of the proof of concepts, I believe here in the company, we were not planned, or we are not customary to have proof of concepts and understand what is the benefit to prove the technology, to have this small concept and understanding that if it's feasible in terms of the full company. So I believe it's a small change, but in terms of the benefit or in the general acceptance of a project, it's a huge change. I believe the other innovation is the process, the internal process to manage the employee, the ideas of the employees, because we have the committee to evaluate these ideas, and now the platform that is named crowdsourcing to have this kind of management and to be very clear for the full company what we are doing with the ideas of the employees and why this idea was accepted or not. And in terms of the second semester, in a few months, we will start with this go live of our new and reloaded e-commerce platform. So we are now developing, and we are doing with the concepts in terms of the future, what we want to do, what we need to do to maintain the relevance of the company. So in that case, providers like Pyxis are very interested in the participation, and we are doing with our strategic partners this kind of relationships to maintain the focus in our main business. So this is the more interesting project that we already did it.
Okay, great. Yeah, very interesting. So, you were speaking earlier about the agility and bringing more speed. So clearly by the way of introducing the POCs, you are allowing that agility, because you can go and try out many things and test them out and then see if they work or not, and then choose the one that is working. And then you spoke a lot about the employees and how you're making changes with them. So also, like, obviously the fact that you're also making that all their ideas, you're gathering them, but not only gathering, but that you're also making them transparent and available to everybody else. That's also key.
And with the transparency in terms of understand what is happening with my idea, why it's accepted or not, and if it's feasible in terms of our not only the current situation, but in the terms of the future that we want or we are planning to the company. So we believe that the transparency is the key concept to maintain and to win this credibility, internal and external, in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to build a lot more accountability and the ownership, and to make people really love what they do and keep giving more ideas because they see that they're hurt and somebody is doing something about them.
That's right. That's right, Anna.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank
All right.
you.
Let's go to our next question. And Steve, so back to you. And this is obviously a big topic. And you know, the loyalty technology, you touched a little bit on that already at the beginning. But tell us a little bit more of how the technology evolved, because the journey has been long to enable the personalized brand to customer interactions, not just in one area, but across the whole tech stack.
Sure. So I think, there's 2 points to start the discussion around, which Alejandro and Ana actually pointed out in their chat, which is loyalty is evolving as a first party data aggregator, if you will. So this is not so much about an experience yet for the loyalty member, but for the overall digital strategy. They're pulling first party data from loyalty systems that enable and enhance their overall digital marketing strategy. So, I mean, when you look at loyalty, we have, dozens of data points on, who their best customers are, their shopping behaviors, their order frequency, their cart values. All of this data is critical to marketing. The other area with regards to loyalty, Anna mentioned, is with their customers is creating unique experiences. So today, loyalty is more than just an earn and burn program. That's how they've been ran in the past. You buy something and you get some rewards, and then you really don't see that client until they come back and buy something else. But now it's about, staying in touch with your loyal members or your customers throughout their entire journey. And this includes in between purchases. So that's another real key when it comes to new loyalty strategies. Other areas that need to be considered when looking at loyalty programs is, does the program have the ability to influence buying behaviors or customer behaviors? A behavior over and above buying might be, how can we get that client to engage with us on the social channels or share, additional information about themselves. And then, of course, the program needs to be able to offer unique experiences that are that don't necessarily require rewards to engage with. A unique experience might be a personal shopping experiences, or free shipping, or depending on maybe a tier level, certain clients are getting preferential treatments of some nature. And then, another area when you're thinking about loyalty today, is it extensible? And what I mean by extensible is, can the program extend beyond your brand? Can it extend to other brands that you can partner with, where points can be redeemed, like coalition loyalty type strategies, where I earn points with one brand and being able to redeem points, with another brand under the same loyalty program. So extensibility, creating unique experiences, staying engaged with members throughout their entire journey, influencing behaviors. These are all areas that loyalty programs, it's a must-have to be effective in the overall loyalty strategy. So those are kind of some of the new areas that Annex Cloud Loyalty offers today. But definitely those things need to be top of mind when considering a new loyalty platform.
Very interesting. Thanks a lot, Steve. Yes, and we know that Annex Cloud has some outstanding loyalty features, and with all the changes, clearly, you probably will add even more. So great insights. Okay, so this brings us to the end of our roundtable. These were some incredible answers and some incredible insights into what's going on from all the sides. You know, one thing that I took for myself is that, yes, the last year, and still is in a lot of ways, became a year where we became very disconnected in a physical world. But thanks to all these amazing brands and companies, they created a space where we can be a lot more connected in the digital world, right? Like receiving all sorts of different messages from TGI Fridays, having loyalty from Annex Cloud, having the treatment of the Nadros employees, like the work that is done by Leandro and his team for the e-commerce site and everything else. That just creates that real closeness in the digital world. So with that said, I'll invite back all our participants, all our experts, if you can turn on your cameras. And well, first of all, a huge thank you. A lot of work has gone into preparing this, and thank you for your insights. Thank you for your thoughts. And do we have any questions? Now we went over by 10 minutes, but we're happy to take the last 5 minutes and answer any questions. Okay, I don't see any questions. Okay, well, does anybody would like to say any closing words? We have just a couple of minutes and we can use that, so the floor is open.
So I'll chime in. Thank you, Anna, for hosting today's event, and much appreciated. You know, great insight, great information today. I think, you know, kind of a common theme here is, you know, data is being a challenge, and creating unique experiences is you know, another area that I think brands need to and are taking a harder look at. You know, again, I wanted to point to Anna's comment about, you know, creating those unique experiences for customers, and then being able to identify who they are. So, you know, I appreciate the platform to share that information. I think it's important information that, you know, customers and brands need to consider.
Great, Steve, thank you. Anybody else? No, okay. All right, well then, we really thank you all once again, and we will be sharing the recording and the feedback form, and we appreciate your feedback. Tell us what you liked, tell us what you did not like, tell us what else you would like to hear in the future, because we're doing this to really share all these experiences and the things that we do with you, so that your customer experience journey becomes better, and so that you build better digital relationships. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for joining.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Thank you.